Randy just played the Duncans, and I don't think that y'all are ready for what's going to happen next. So here's the problem. Randy is not one of those do it for me and I'll behave type of men. He's a once I see how far you're going to go, I'm going to stretch it out, I'm going to take advantage for my benefit type of man. Now, Randy didn't just make a move. He played the entire Duncan family like a violin. Now, with all of their power, they're still about to get blindsided, and we've got to talk about it. Randy walked back into this story and somehow ended up with the entire Duncan family in a chokehold from a prison cell. Now you've got Orlando, Mr. Control Freak here, Mr. Calculated, completely unraveling over his son, little Vincent. And honestly, he should. We have watched Orlando do experiments, fix bodies, fix cars, build drug empires, fix everything under the sun. But now little Vincent is in need of this bone marrow transplant. And this is one thing that he just can't fix. Now he tells Dr. Doolittle here, very calmly, but very sternly, that somebody better figure out who the potential donor is. And when I say Orlando did everything except threaten this man's life, that wasn't a request, it was a decree. Then we find out that the match is Randy, Ruby's brother, the one who's locked up and supposedly tucked away from all the family drama. All of a sudden, his ass becomes the most powerful man in the entire Duncan universe. He's not out in the streets. He's not running a crew. He's not sitting at the head of any table. He's sitting alone in this little concrete box and still has the Duncans by the neck. And the reason that I say this is because when Chippy walked into that prison, she was heartbroken, about her grandson, torn up about Junior, and still carrying all of that old guilt about what happened to Roman. So when she goes in to see Randy, it's not just about business, it's very, very personal. She's walking in there as Mama Duncan, but she's also walking in there as a woman who knows that a lot of people's choices, including the ones that she's made, are still haunting this family. When Randy sees Chippy and Clock Christopher standing there, he knew exactly what kind of power was sitting in front of him. That's not just a praying grandmother and a church boy. Christopher's got political pull. He's plugged in into systems, institutions, favors, the whole network. And that's why Randy felt so comfortable and bold when he asked to come out of solitary confinement. For him, that wasn't even a big ask. This was like entry-level light work for them. And he's saying, if you want me to save your grandson, my nephew, then get me out of this box. The episode 8 synopsis already tells us that he's going to ask for more than the release out of solitary confinement, and not more in a let me reconnect with my family way, not let me make amends for what I've done. No, he's asking for more in a selfish, what can I get out of this now that I know that you're desperate kind of way. This is where Randy becomes dangerous, and it's not because he's violent, not because he's loud, but because he knows leverage when he sees it. The Duncans' love for their children, it's always been a soft spot for them. It's their blind spot, and Randy is pressing right on that nerve. I mean, think about it. He's sitting in prison watching this powerful family move heaven and earth just to get a conversation with him. He's got Chippy showing up in person, and Christopher's there like the political insurance policy, and Orlando, who probably wants to strangle this man. He's forced to tolerate whatever demand comes next because the clock is ticking on Vincent. And of course, Randy is smart enough to clock all of that. So what could he possibly want next? If solitary was the appetizer, what's the main course? Money is too small. With the way that the Duncans move, he knows that they can throw money at anybody. Money doesn't equal real power in this family. Position does. Access does. Immunity does. So my guess, Randy's going to want something that makes him untouchable. Maybe a transfer to a lighter facility, maybe paperwork being pulled, maybe he wants his record adjusted, a path to freedom set up behind the scenes, or official protection so that if he does get out, nobody can just handle him without consequences. Whatever it is, it's not going to be something that blesses the Duncans. It's going to be something that ties their hands even tighter. Right? And the twisted part is they might actually comply with whatever he wants. Because all of this is not really about Randy, it's about Vincent. And when it comes to a sick child, people will cross moral lines, legal lines, common sense lines. And we already know that Orlando is already halfway down that road. Now, the real curveball is we already know that according to episode number 9 synopsis that Randy is going to the hospital for sure, but he's going to escape before he donates. And that right there tells you everything about this character that we need to know. He never planned to be a man of his word. This was never about saving Vincent for him. This was about using Vincent as a bargaining chip. He plans on getting to that hospital and then he's going to slip out the back and vanish. No donation, no follow through. Just chaos. And this is psychological warfare. Randy is playing on their fear, on their guilt, on their urgency. And once he's on the run and they're hunting for him, hunting him down, it's not just about catching him as a criminal. It's about chasing down the man who's holding their grandson's life in his hands. Now, on the other side of this tragedy is Roman. Roman has been floating around the edges of the storyline like the family secret that they just don't want to talk about. Stolen from the hospital, raised separately, dragged back into the fold after 20 plus years of silence. Now, Orlando has treated him like an intruder from day one. Not because Roman did anything wrong, but because Roman represents another extension of Chippy and LC that he has to share his inheritance with. That's what this is all about. Orlando is a control freak. I mean, he likes his world to make sense, right? And nothing about Roman makes sense to him. How do you accept a brother you never grew up with? How do you embrace someone the nurse stole from your mother's arms while your parents lived decades thinking that they only had twins? That's not an easy adjustment. So instead of processing it, Orlando rejects him. He judges him and he pushes him off to the side. But now the synopsis is hinting that on this final episode, episode number 10, that Orlando is going to be begging someone, most likely Roman, to be the donor for Vincent. Let that sink in. The brother that he can't stand, the brother that he won't fully accept, the brother who represents trauma, loss, and the broken history. That might be the one person who can save his son after he's doing all this cutting up and acting a fool. That's not good drama, it's karma. Because while Randy is out here playing games with his child's life, Roman might end up being the one who quietly steps in and does what a real uncle and a real brother should do. Not for money, not for legal favors, not for leverage, but simply because it's the right thing to do. And don't forget, Roman is the one who's been wronged the most here. He didn't ask to be stolen. He didn't ask to be raised outside the Duncan empire. He didn't ask to walk into a family that looked at him like a problem to solve instead of the person to love. If anybody has a reason to be bitter, it's him. So if he does say yes to being a donor, that puts a spotlight on everybody else's character, especially Orlando and Paris. And where does Christopher stand in all of this? I think he's stuck in the middle, watching political power be used to move a man out of solitary, only for that man to spit on his Tom Fords and run. And that's going to mess him up spiritually and morally. Christopher seems like he's the kind of businessman who does things quietly, behind the scenes, and might even do things the right way sometimes. And here he is co-signing shady favors and didn't even get the results of the child being saved. And what I love about this setup and what makes it so wild is that the writers aren't just handing us this simple storyline. They're exposing the cracks, the secrets, and every weak spot inside the story. We're going to see how far the Duncans will go when love and desperation collide. We're going to see whether Orlando can humble himself enough to ask Roman for help without trying to control the terms. So yeah, this is heavy, guys. And don't forget, the streets are going to be watching all of this. The Duncans are supposed to be untouchable, right? They're supposed to be the ones holding everybody else's life in their hands. But right now, Randy is about to have them scrambling. A son they knew nothing about might save the family line, and a sick little boy is right in the center of this storm. So here's my question for you. When all the dust settles, who do you think is going to show more power? Randy with his manipulation and escape, or will it be Roman if he chooses to step up to be the donor Orlando never deserved but desperately needs? Drop me your thoughts and your theories down in the comments below. And while you're down there, give this video a thumbs up if you like the video. I'd appreciate it. And if you're a fan of the family business just like I am, then go ahead and sub to this channel for more videos just like this one. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight, you guys, to Ruthless TV, and I'm going to see you in the next one.